is here. He is no stranger to the reading circle. He's been here before, and he's no stranger to me. I have known this gentleman since I was in high school. Since I was at Eastside High School from 1976 to 1980, I have known this gentleman. Matter of fact, at that time, I had hair and wore glasses. And in many instances, as I walked down the hallway, because so does he, in many instances, I would walk down the hallway, people thought I was him. They would call me Skip, and I would turn around and say, "No, I'm not Skip, I'm Mark." Skip was a guidance counselor or a counselor. I know you were a school counselor. I'm not sure if it was a guidance or which one, or social worker, or one or the other.
The social worker.
That's it. Social. There you go, at Eastside High School, and that's where we met. And then as life went on, and as it turns out, when I chose my fraternity, as it turns out, this young man was a part of that particular fraternity. And what was really interesting, because at the time, Skip, we used to call those smokers. It was an interest meeting. And so I went to the interest meeting. All the gentlemen who I had looked up to or who either worked at my high school were a part of this fraternity. This gentleman was one of them. Peter Nelson was one. And then there was other folks around the community I knew. I was like, oh, this is definitely the fraternity for me. So Skip and I we were fraternity brothers. And over the years, we've gotten to know each other better and better. We know each other's families and the ups and downs and this, that, and the other. Know his sons and other children, wife, so forth and so on. And he started writing books because he worked in the school system. He started writing books. And this is what, your second or third book, Skip?
My third book.
Third. That's why I said. That's why I think this is your third time here, because I think each time you came on.
Yeah,
so
you allowed me to come on here.
That's
exactly.
Right. So I'm glad to have you back on again. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Reading Circle. Microphone, my friend, my fraternity brother, child of God, Mr. Dale Skip Van Rensalier. Skip, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, Mark?
All is well, man. No need to complain. All is well. So glad to have you back on the show again, because I know the last time we were talking about your book about Paterson, book one, and now you've written your second one.
Volume 2, yeah. But let me first start by saying, congratulating my fraternity brother on the achievement of his doctorate and being the keynote speaker at the William Paterson University commencement exercises. This is one of the Paterson icons. So besides him being my fraternity brother, my friend, and so forth and so on, the listening audience should give kudos to this gentleman. He's been on the radio over 25 years now.
That is correct. It started in 2001.
25 years on the radio, and just an amazing portfolio of achievement and mentoring in Paterson. So, Mark, I salute you, brother. I salute you.
Well, thank you, man. I salute you back. We all on this journey and in this struggle and on this battle together. And as you said, we children of God. And so for sure, that's what empowers and strengthens us. And we're following. See, the thing is, Skip follows his path. I'm following my path. And, and because we are doing the best we can to serve, because all of it is about service. All of us, we're serving children. We are serving children, which we have the opportunity, because the other thing that I didn't say about Skip when we were talking, Skip there was this talent show at Eastside during the time frame I was there. Those are the good old days too. They really were. Yeah. It was called the Black and Gold Review. And again, I did not associate, because I didn't know at that time, the Black and Gold, because it was named, because it was sponsored by the fraternity, the Delta Mu Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. They sponsored that talent show, and our colors are black and old gold. So it was the Black and Gold Review. Skip was always the master of ceremony at the Black and Gold Review. And that was because this was a talent show that was held during spring break. At that time, we called it Easter break. Now they've changed it over to spring break. But we always knew it was coming up right before our break for Easter.
Always that last Thursday before Good Friday.
That is correct. That's when it was. And I remember that as a student, as well as once I became a part of the organization. A lot of the things that we've done, during that time frame, such as the Cotillion, the Debutante Cotillion Ball, the Black and Gold Review, some of the things that we've done, we've revamped it, or either we do it in a different way or don't do it at all. But again, as I said, those were some good days. I remember I actually performed in the Black and Gold several times. If I didn't perform on my own, I was accompanying a performer, singer. Yeah. You're right. Somebody who was singing, because that's another thing. Skip also is a musician. We had a lot in common.
A lot in common. It's amazing how many people thought the Black and Gold back in the day was because of the makeup, ethnic makeup of the school. The black was for the black students and the gold was for the Hispanic students. You know, that was kind of strange, but that's what they thought it was, the black and gold, black and Hispanic students. But no, it was, and then, a few years later, I think the first time, 2005, the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity did another show, patterning after the American Idol called the Black and Gold Idol.
That's right.
And we did that for about 10 years, and very successful. We had students, we gave them money for scholarships, and plus we were able to arrange auditions for the winners at Atlantic Records and Sony Records. It was a good show.
Yeah, well, see, and again, Skip is a Renaissance man. He was also first manager of the group Riff. The title of the group name was Riff, R-I-F-F. And those are the boys who were in the movie Lean on Me. And
exactly.
So
yeah.
You have what? How many CDs you had with them, or how many albums?
Well, that was the first book I did. Was called Six-Part Harmony, and the untold story of Riff, because they were an amazingly talented group, but they never achieved the status of like a Boyz II Men or Jodeci, and people would always ask, like, well, what happened to Riff? How come Riff never, So I decided to give them all the background, because I'd kept a journal about the group. We did 2 CDs, really. And after the second CD, we parted ways with the record company. And then myself and Riff eventually parted ways on a good note, though. We're still very close. We lost one of the members years ago. Kenny Kelly passed away.
Right.
And one of the other members joined my son's group, Shy. And,
correct.
So the 3 of the originals are still singing with them. They have 2 new members, and they do appearances every now and then, but they haven't had anything out there in a long time.
Well, when Skip just said Shy, that's if you ever heard If I Ever Fall in Love Again, that's Shy. Matter of fact, the lead singer, that's his son Darnell, and our fraternity brother.
Exactly, yeah.
So, again, he played for the choir at church, at his church. Do you still play, or are you still playing with the choir?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if I can, just by way of just a very small promotion. I play for the choir. It's not what it used to be. You know what it used to be back in the day. But,
that's right.
As a matter of fact, tomorrow, we started this little interfaith concert with the Jewish temple on Prescott Avenue, the best Tikva. And we're doing a concert tomorrow at 7 o'clock with them. They have an a cappella choir. That's amazing. So, excuse me, this is our 3rd year. So, doing a concert with them. That's at 7 o'clock tomorrow at the Jewish temple on Prescott Avenue. But yeah, I still have the choirs there. We have 2 choirs. The memberships are very small now, so I combine them a lot. I have a combined choir. But I'm still there.
All right. And that's on that first church.
54 years.
Yeah, see, that's what I say, 50, that's right. Because, see, I was at St. Luke. I was the organist at St. Luke for 30 years. So, and I retired years ago, from the organist position years ago. So
I'm close, brother.
You're at 54 years, and brother, But my point is, where I'm trying to say, listening audience, Skip has various talents and skills, and God has blessed him with that, and he's used them and using them, continues to use them, continues to be a blessing into the community. And like I said, he managed the group Riff, and that's where the first book came from, as he just said. Then he went on and wrote a second book. It was called I'm So Paterson.
Up close in Paterson.
Up close in Paterson. That's it. Up close in Paterson. Sorry, Up Close in Paterson. That's right. So that book was so good, he did a second volume, and that's why we're here today to talk about that. So we're going to kind of go back to for those who hadn't heard the other 2 episodes, we're going to bring you up to speed with everything as we did, like he said, with the book about Riff and how that went, and then the Up Close in Paterson 1, and now we're at Up Close in Paterson 2. All right. And when we get to the end of the program, when you get a chance to promote, you can promote that concert again if you'd like, because at the end, we do, I shut the mic off for about 5 minutes or whatever, so you can promote whatever you want in terms of contact information. The only thing you can't say is a dollar amount, but anything short of a dollar amount, you can tell and share anything audience would need to know at the end of the interview. So, all right, let's see. Where did let's go back to the book, because I just said you were a social worker at Eastside, you were organist at the church, so forth. So where did the book writing, where did that notion come from to become an author?
Well, I've always been writing. I've kept journals forever. I think I'm like on my 7th journal, personal journals. And as I mentioned before, because of my background or experience or wanting to write journals or keep a journal, historically as far as what I'm doing. When I was on tour with Riff, they were on tour with as the opening act for Vanilla Ice. Big mistake, but we won't talk about that. But we were on tour, and I kept a journal every day of what was going on. And after we parted ways, the journal was just sitting there for years, actually. It was a 4-year journal, and what I decided to do was put it in book form. I told a couple of people about it, and they said, well, "Why don't you just transpose it into a book?" Which I did. I had to update a couple of things, and that's how the first book came about. So it was actually written. Matter of fact, if you get a copy of the first book, the 6-part harmony, it's actually in a journal form. I had the dates, each date, what happened on a particular date, what city they were in. So it's actually in a journal form. And then, kind of ironically, because we just had a mayor's race here in Paterson, our mayor was reelected, Andre Saya. And when he first ran, I think his platform was One Paterson. And he was profiling the amazing diversity that we have in Paterson. I knew we had a diverse population. I didn't realize it was maybe one of the most, if not the most, diverse city in Jersey, maybe the country. So because of that, I decided, I'd write a book about Paterson, and I would interview a number of people, but they had to be of all different ethnic backgrounds, and just to get their perspective on living, growing up, working in Paterson, so that the reader would get an idea of what Paterson is like. Because we have a bad rap. People hear about Paterson and they just think certain things. As a matter of fact, I was shopping at Costco one day, and I had a Eastside shirt on, and then I had to have Paterson on it. And this gentleman, he happened to be a Caucasian gentleman. He wasn't even in line, but he said, "Are you from Paterson Eastside?" I said, "Yeah." And so all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I didn't know this guy. He says to the guy who's waiting on me, who I think was of Indian descent, he said, "That's my friend there, man. He's from Paterson. He goes east side, and he messes with me, he'll kick you behind." So, I mean, that's the rep that we have, man. This guy didn't know me from Adam. he saw east side on his shirt. He saw Paterson on the hat, and he decided that, I'm his friend now, and if everybody messes with him, I'm just going to get violent, because that's what we do in Paterson, But I interviewed a number of amazing people in the first book, and I was encouraged, because I hadn't really thought about doing a second volume, but I was encouraged to do a second volume. As a matter of fact, later on in the interview, I've been encouraged. I'll tell you about some of the other encouragements I've had thus far from people who've read the book. The biggest challenge, I guess, and I think I explained this last time I was on the show about the first volume, Up Close in Paterson, was who would I select. And obviously, I think I had 35 people, or 36 in the first volume, around the same amount for the second volume. And because, both you and I have been in Paterson so long, we know a lot of people. And,
right.
I obviously didn't interview people I would have wanted in the book. So, but I prayed about it, and I said, Lord, just take me to some people who you would want in my book. And because it wasn't like I had compiled a list, and I'm going to get this one. There were different occasions, different events I was at, and I would see somebody, and I said, "Well, I want that person in my book." And thank God for the first volume, nobody turned me down when I asked them. Second volume, I had a couple of people who kind of bowed out after a while, but about 90% of the people I asked for the second book, even higher than that, maybe 95%, agreed to be in the book. So it's just a perspective on Paterson from the people who live here, because a lot of people get their perspectives on our city from 6 o'clock news and from what they hear. These are people who lived in Paterson, grew up in Paterson, raised their kids in Paterson, worked in Paterson. So that's what it's about. That's all.
Well, I know that has to be a challenge, only because anybody that would say, "Well, I should be in the book too." I mean, I was like, "Well, why didn't you pick me?" And so on. So I know that has to be a challenge in terms of trying to help people. I mean, it's a wonderful honor. If you were to ask me, of course, I'd say yes. And if you didn't ask me, I wasn't offended that I wasn't asked. I mean, but you have some people that don't look at it that way. They take offense. So like, why he asked me?
Yeah, there's some people, and it's kind of gotten back to me secondhand. No one has actually come to my face and said it, but I've heard from different people that, so-and-so kind of felt they should have been in the book. And I don't disagree. I tell everybody the same thing. I don't throw anybody under the bus and say, I would never put that person in my book. I was like, yeah, he or she is just one of those people I didn't get to. Because as a matter of fact, one of the people in the second volume who I wanted in the first volume was a homeless lady who I met at McDonald's on Broadway. Because when I was substituting at Norman S. Ware, I would see her and we just would strike up a conversation. And she might have been part of the impetus of me doing the first volume, because her story, everybody has a story. I know it's kind of cliche, but everybody has a story. And I wanted her in the first book. She eventually got arrested, I think, but I found her again and I put her in the second volume. And I said to myself, if I did a third volume, and I don't think that's going to happen because my wife and I are thinking about relocating to North Carolina, it would be a homeless volume, which would be a major challenge, because this young lady is still living on the streets, the one I had in the second volume. Her name is Ethel. And she still does some drugs, and she's high sometimes. And when I interviewed her, she was high a couple of times. And I took some of the things that she said with a grain of salt, but I wrote her story. But it was interesting because am I rambling? I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Because like I said, the way I operate is the response generates my next question. So there's some things that you're saying that's generating a couple of different questions.
Okay.
Whenever. So no, you're not rambling at all. I mean, and it's interesting to hear because. First off, I'm going to go back to and talk a little bit about the first book in terms of the whole music industry, how cutthroat that is. Because you kind of alluded to something going on. You're opening up, being an opening act for who was it? Did you say Vanilla Ice? Is that what you said?
They're opening for Vanilla Ice. Now, obviously, at that point, he was
right,
the biggest thing in the world to his audience, because every venue we played was packed. With the little teeny bopper girls, and the majority of them Caucasian, and he was the biggest thing in the happening since Vanilla Ice Cream.
Right.
But it wasn't a good look for the guys, because when we tried to flip it over to R&B, the R&B audience is kind of like no, we don't want to hear them brothers. And then they opened up for Vanilla Ice, man. Right.
And see, and the thing is, that's what the music industry in and of itself is extremely cutthroat. Extremely cut. I mean, it is a very, the people who are very successful in it make it look like it's easy, but it's not. It is extremely cutthroat. So that was the piece I just wanted to kind of touch on. But then as you segued into the Paterson book, and you're absolutely right. The sad part is Paterson now, there are some things that go on in Paterson. Let's keep it real. But at the same time, the only thing that makes the news is the negative. And usually it's coming out of only 2 wards out of the 6. Out of the 6 wards, it's 2 wards that's always spotlighted for negativity. And people think the entire city is like that, and it's not.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And which is another reason why I got chose the people that I interviewed to have different ethnic backgrounds, because so people wouldn't pigeonhole black folks. Paterson is like that because of the black folks. Paterson is like that because of the Spanish folks. Because if you read their stories, number one, they're very successful, and they were raised in amazing neighborhoods that if you see the neighborhoods now, you would say this neighborhood could have never been like that, but it was. And so
you're absolutely right. So what was your when you identified someone to be a part of the book? How would you approach them and reach out or invite them to be a part? And kind of what was the response?
Like I said, for the first book, it was almost 100%. I would just tell them what I'm doing. It wasn't about being a bestseller, because neither of the books are close to being a bestseller, but it was about Paterson. And I knew some of the people that I asked were staunch, if you will, Patersonians, people who lived all their life and probably had a story to tell. So I would explain to them that this is what I'm trying to do, and I thought that you'd be a good person to be interviewed for my book. And a lot of people were just very pleased, honored to be in a book, so
absolutely.
That helped a lot, put me in a book. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when I finished the first book, I was kind of amazed, and everybody got their copies. The people, they were posting stuff on Facebook. They would open up the book to the page where they are, because each chapter, each story about a person would start out with had their picture, and then a little background about the person, then their story, and they were posting those pages. At least 10 of them did that. So I thought that was good. But it was, and like I said, the other thing was I prayed a lot about it. Even the second volume, like, Lord, take me to who you want me to put in this book. And there were occasions that I would go someplace and didn't have the book in mind at all, and then I would listen to somebody. As a matter of fact, one of those people in the first book, Monique, the comedian, who's doing amazing things now. She was. I went to a retirement dinner or some kind of dinner, and she was the entertainment for the evening. And on that particular evening, besides her comedic act, she just got very sentimental about her journey in Paterson. And I'm listening to her saying, I almost started writing notes as she was talking. She's got to be in the book, And also I wanted some people who aren't that positive, like one of the people in the book who just won another lawsuit, David Gilmour, who also ran for council at large. A lot of controversy around David Gilmour and some of the things that he posted and said. And I saw him one day. I got to have him in the book, man. So I put him in the first volume. I was surprised when he accepted. Some people surprised me when I asked them, and they accepted. Matter of fact, 2 or 3 of the people from the first volume had passed away. I was fortunate enough to get a Congressman Pasquale in the first book.
Right.
And, people who are our age, a little older, might remember. I can't think of his name. The comedian Uncle Floyd.
Okay.
Got him in the first volume. He passed away. And Ray Lige Sr. I got him in the first volume. I think he passed away before it actually came out.
Right.
So I got some heavy hitters in the first volume, as well as the second volume.
Well, it was interesting in terms when you were saying everybody had a story. And then when you were talking about, the possibility of a volume on the homeless, who came to my mind, which I knew part of his story because I would see him every day prior to his passing away, but I didn't know the second part of the story until I started talking to you guys. And that was William Davis.
Yeah, right.
I would see him because he hung out right down the street from my school. So I would see him almost every day. I would see William almost every day, but I didn't realize the story until I started talking to you guys about how he would come to the church and you all were paying him to clean up, and he would come in and he was this. That part I didn't know. So you're right in terms of
faithful every Sunday, man, every Sunday. Yep.
And his father was one of our fraternity brothers. We were James Davis. Exactly. James Davis and me and James were very close. We played for a year. We played racquetball every morning at 6:00. James and I played that. So we'd get together Monday through Friday, and we'd play racquetball from 6 to 7. And good fraternity brother passed away of cancer at a young age, but his boys were still here, William and James. Right. And again, William, like I said, I saw William every day. He would call me Big Dog.
Yeah.
That's what he used when he would see me. What's up, Big Dog? And so we would talk every now and again, and take him to Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, give him a couple of dollars, or whatever. But I had no idea he was like until I heard from you guys that he was coming to the church, like you said, faithfully, didn't miss. And so everybody does have a story, and I think that's why books like yours are so important, because people don't realize or understand other people's stories, and all of us have one. You're right.
Right. And I think you kind of hit on it before. You were saying we were talking about the entertainment business. People see them performing on TV, and they think that's their entire lifestyle. It's been like that forever. But some of these people who are politicians now, who have high-paying jobs, who are doing amazing things in the community, didn't start out like that. They had struggles and for a while, didn't think they were going to make it. And matter of fact, one young lady in the first volume, I gave everybody the opportunity. I don't want to get into the whole process, but I wanted to make sure that whatever story I put in the book was approved by them. We would go back and forth. And one young lady who was doing amazing things in Paterson found out she was raped when she was at school number 10. And she was a little thing, man, by 4 or 5 boys, and the thing about it, she had never told her mother about it, so she decided she didn't want that in the story because she didn't want her mother to find out that way. And but to look at her, you would never think, man, some of the background these people have. Matter Matter of fact, I'm going to a book signing later on today. Francisca Nunez, who's doing an amazing thing as far as domestic violence.
Right.
Because she was violated when she was younger, and she wrote a couple of books. So people have stories to tell.
No, they really do. And Matt, it's interesting that you would bring, because I was on a streak at one point of guests, and they were females that had written books, and they would reveal on air that they had been violated or molested, and some of them were molested by their grandfathers, by cousins, by neighbors. And to look at them and them, but they had put it in their book, and for them it was like a release, or it was cathartic to be able to express it and let it out. But I had got on like it was a good 5 or 6. It might even been a week stretch. Each Saturday, another woman was coming on, and she would say that she'd been violated. I was like, oh my God, this is like, there's more women out there, and now men to a degree. There are more that has been violated than we may know, because you're right, in terms of to look at them or interact with them, if they don't say it, you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. But and that wasn't my intent when I did the stories. It wasn't to get into anybody's business, because matter of fact, during the interviews, if something came up that I thought was like, do you really want that in the book? I would say to them, I say, this doesn't have to be in there. It's unless you want it in there, and we'd go back and forth. And sometimes they would take it out. Sometimes they wanted to keep it in. So case in point is the second volume. I have some amazing people. Some people just ran from there. Mike Jackson is in there. And, Tony Perez, who they named the parking facility in Paterson after Barry Rosser. Mayor Sayer's wife is in there.
Okay.
But Harold Williams, who has done videography and photography for Paterson for years, he's logged, and he just has a library of Paterson history. When I interviewed him, and he started telling me his background, and there's a lot of stuff in his background that, we went back, you want this in there? And he said, yeah. I would have never guessed that he had a background like that. So I was fortunate enough to get the first black deputy fire chief in Paterson, Mike Halls, in the book. And even got B.K. Kirkland in the book.
All right now. See, and the interesting thing about it is, like, Paterson is large in terms of, we're somewhere between 160 and 180,000 people, somewhere in there. And a lot of us know each other. All those names you've called, I've interacted with all of them. Matter of fact, BK was on the show a couple of years ago. I caught him for like a 15 or 20-minute interview. He came on because
the book too,
because he actually, if my understanding was correct, BK was up here at William Paterson. And so I had him on the show a couple of years ago, I think for maybe a good 15 minutes, half hour, somewhere up in there. But in any event, we kind of, as big as Paterson is, we kind of travel in the same circles, the people that Skip is talking about. So listening audience, this is your host, Marc Medley. You're listening to Brave New Radio, gobrave.org. My guest this morning is Dale Skip Van Rensalier. We're talking about his literary works, particularly the last couple in terms of Up Close in Paterson. And there are various biographies about Pattersonians, and they don't necessarily have to be high level or high ranking or famous, or they don't necessarily, because he tried to get a mix of people who was known and unknown.
As a matter of fact, for the second volume, I was thinking, well, what can I do differently than from the first volume? And two things that stick out for the second volume is I interviewed 4 young people, because since I retired, I've been doing a lot of substituting, and most of my substituting is done in Norman S. Ware School, so I have a good relationship with the students and the staff there. I decided that maybe the readers might want to get a young person's perspective on Paterson. So there was a class of 2023, which is, I think, an exceptional class. So I interviewed 4 people from that class, and their stories are in here. And unfortunately, as successful, because they're all amazing students, 3.8, 3.9, 4.0 students. I think they're all at Passaic County Tech now, but they all kind of indicate, as the journey continues, when they get to a certain point, unless things change drastically, they all see themselves leaving Paterson and not going to stay in Paterson. So it's kind of a bad commentary as far as Paterson, because you got these amazing young people with potential that could do amazing things in the city, but they're what they're looking forward to is the day they can finally leave Paterson and take their expertise and their brilliance someplace else. Plus, speaking of fraternity, our fraternity brother, who's actually just recently installed as our new president of Delta Mu Lambda chapter, Shelton Prescott, did a segment in the end of my book called Silk City Icons of Color, because he's an amazing historian, and he just did some research. I could have done a whole book on that, but I think he showcased like maybe 4 or 5 people of color who are from Paterson, but from the early 1900s, like Reverend Dr. Thomas Hunter, born 1870, is a pastor, educator, co-founder of the Colored Men's Association of Paterson, and a Dr. Norman Cotton, born 1885, philanthropist, a humanitarian, alpha brother, had 40 years of practice. His office is right there on Graham Avenue, and people like Dr. Morris Curtis, born 1891, his wife Fanny Curtis. These are people that, I never knew about. And but this is a really interesting read. I think he showcased 5 people at the end of my book, and it's called Silk City Icons of Color, that particular section by Brother Shelton Prescott.
I tell you, in terms of, this is the thing, and this is why, to me, like you say, it may or may not become a bestseller, but for whoever reads it, because this is the thing, and Bible just like I know Bible. There's a question in there, and I think we talked about this the last time. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? And a lot of people will say the same thing about Paterson. They will say, does anything good come out of Paterson? Because the perspective or the perception is that the entire Paterson is what they see on the news, and it's just not true. You were talking earlier about me being commencement speaker. Now, Benji, Senator Wimberly, was the commencement speaker at the undergrad ceremony. And so I text Benji. I said, Benji, think about that for a second. You got 2 African-American males from the city of Paterson, New Jersey, who are commencement speakers at the graduation.
Amazing.
And again, I tell you, I say, something good does come out of Paterson. I mean, regardless of what people think or what the perception is, or even what the reality is, there are still a lot of good that comes out of Paterson. So a book like yours lets people know, here is some good.
Oh, yeah, a lot of good. I mean, when you read these stories, and you see what these people have accomplished, and here again, it's just not, I've been talking about some of the African Americans in the book, but, some of the Hispanics, and I got Muslims, and the other thing is that, and I would have never known, that's how God works, just so happens that besides the young people, I showcased, there's a segment on Norman S. Ware School, because that's a school that I sub at, so another person that's profiled in the book is the principal, Grace Giglio, as well as Miss Ann Matthews, who was a first grade teacher, had both my kids in the first grade, and they're 29 and 32 now. She just retired last year. So I did a whole segment on Norman S. Ware, and as it turns out, this will be the last year of Norman S. Ware because of the whole redistricting thing, middle school redistricting they're doing.
That's correct.
So
and I'm in the same boat. My school is one of them too. It's 4 of us. It's me, it's Norman S. Weir, Alexander Hamilton, and School 1. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And matter of fact, Grace and I were together yesterday.
Okay, yeah. So she's profiled in the book, as well as Ann Matthews, one of the teachers, and like I said, 4 of the students from the graduating class of 2023, which is when I actually started the second volume, August of 23. It took a couple of years to finish. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the stories in there. I'm really pleased that the people agreed to tell me their stories, and I'm particularly glad about the mixture that I have, the diversity. I even got a first Mr. America from Paterson. God, it seems I'm getting old, man. I'm bad on names, but he won the title a couple of years ago. So he's in the book also.
Okay. So in terms of challenges of writing a book like that, what are some? Okay, let's do it this way. Let's do successes and challenges of putting together a book like that.
Well, I guess the number one challenge would be, and I don't know if you call it a challenge, the thing we talked about earlier as far as not including someone, and it happened for me for both volumes. Once I sent the final manuscript in, as it were, I would see somebody, damn, he or she should have been in the book. maybe a bigger challenge was I wasn't really under the gun to get it done in a certain amount of time, but I didn't want to take forever. Was respecting these people's schedule. Here again, these people are very busy. They have busy lives, so I had to work my interviews around their schedule. So that prolonged getting everything done because I would set up an interview, and then a lot of times they would cancel or skip. I can't make it, or something came up, and I'd have to respect that. A couple of times I had to not put my foot down and say, "Listen, I really want to get the book done." So I always wanted to do a face-to-face. I did a couple of phone interviews, but I preferred the face-to-face. So the biggest challenge was scheduling the interviews. And ironically enough, the first interview, because I averaged maybe 2-3 interviews per person, first interview was always no problem at all. They were excited about being in the book. The second interview was always difficult, getting them to schedule that. And then, I guess another challenge is once I did because I taped everything they said, and then I wrote it out and sent it to them so they could review it, was the changes that everybody wanted to change. And then, only a few people, but another challenge was I had to remind some folks that this book is about Paterson. This book ain't about you. Because, these folks went on forever and ever. I don't need that in the book, man. Really, I mean, some stories got very lengthy. I'm sitting there in the interview, battery in the tape recorder ran out and everything. That should have been your first indicator that we've been here too long. When I start changing batteries, you've been talking too long, bro. But.
Oh my goodness! You say this is about Paterson. It's not about you. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, this, I was waiting any minute for somebody to say, "Is my picture gonna be on the cover?" So folks got really carried away with their stories, and but ironically enough, their pictures are on the cover. The cover of the first book had me
right
picture
sitting over the city
at Garrett Mountain.
Yes,
had everybody's picture on the back, but for volume 2, I'll get that copy to you as soon as I can. I got a big Roman numeral 2 with me standing in the middle, and I have everybody's picture on the columns of the volume 2 of the Roman numeral 2. So everybody's picture's on the front cover anyway. So
so now, did you self-publish or did you shop it out to a publisher?
Now, I went to a Page Publishing, which I did all 3 books, and that's a whole nother story. Because I remember Sharif Bug, I think, had a book thing at one of the churches years ago, and he had they were all African American authors from Paterson, and that was before I wrote the first book. I was thinking about it at the time. I went there with the specific purpose of finding out how these people publish their books. And there was an array of avenues they used. Some people self-published, some people went to publishing companies. And I got different reasons as to why self-publishing is more, at least financially, advantageous, But the long story short, I chose Page Publishing because I'm a big Yankee fan. And I was watching the Yes Network where the Yankees come on and they kept advertising Page Publishing. I said, okay, if they're advertising Page Publishing on the Yankee Network, it's got to be legit, number one. So I sent away for a brochure and everything, and they're definitely for profit, because I definitely could have done better or financially. But the thing I wanted is when I do my manuscript, when I send my manuscript, and I want you to take it from there. And they did. They assigned the publishing coordinator to me, and they took care of everything. I mean, the editing, they did everything. So. It cost a little bit, but I was pleased, the final product. And I had some people that were assisting as far as photography. My sister, who does amazing things on the computer, she helped with the cover design. But had I not had those people, this publishing company does it all. And then they, once they get a copy written, they post it on places like Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble and Google Play and iTunes. So. But it is expensive, compared to
right.
Obviously compared to self-publishing. But that's that's how my publishing came about. I said, listen, I can afford, they took a certain amount out of, I had to pay a certain amount every month
right.
for 10 months. But I was able to do it, and I got 3 finished products, so I'm pleased.
So now, again, I'm going to shift gears a tiny bit when we come back to the book in terms of it, because, again, your children, and I'm going to give you a chance to shout them out and plug them as well, have become extremely, your daughter is she on Broadway, or she's been on Broadway, or she's traveling with one of the companies?
Well, actually, the first book I dedicated to my mother. This book I dedicated to my wife. There are pictures in there, but on the inside sleeves of the cover, I have pictures of my older son, who's shy, and his wife, my younger son, my daughter, my sister. So there's a whole family affair, but my grandkids. So if you open the book and you see this brother got his whole family, yeah, I do.
And you should.
Yeah. But yeah, they're both. As a matter of fact, both of them are on Broadway now. My daughter is performing in The Great Gatsby. My son is performing with Anne Juliet. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations for that. I mean, again, it's the reason I brought it up because it's big, right? That's big. That really is big. That your children have gone on and they're successful. Because as a parent, that's exactly what we want. We want our children to do.
Yeah, and they're living the lives they want to. They both enjoy performance since they were little, and they're doing what they love to do and getting paid for it. God bless them.
I know that's right.
Yeah, there you go.
So have you ever, in terms of and I asked you this question probably both times you were here, because I love to ask this question in terms of when you first get that box and you open it up and you see the book or the CD in your particular instance with your name on it in the byline, what is that like for you? And see, now you were just talking about your kids. I can't imagine what it's like for them to, like you just said, I'm getting paid to do what I love to do. What is it like for you to open that box and see up close in Paterson by, Dale, Skip Van Rensalier, or what have you? What's that like?
It's an amazing sense of accomplishment, but it's funny you should ask, because the publishing company, they actually do a contest. Actually, you have to stage it because when you get that box for the first time with your book in it, they want you to videotape. Well, you can do it impromptu too. You can say, "Well, I know the box is coming." Then have somebody ready, like your wife or somebody, to videotape when you first open it. But they have a contest, and you send the video in, and I can't remember what the prize was. I did it for the first book, but not for the second and third one. When you asked that question, I was thinking about, God, there's a TV show or a movie with 4 black guys. I think they were all best men for a wedding or something. But anyway, one of them was a writer. You probably know the movie I'm talking about. And he wrote something that was controversial and almost caused a big friction between him and his boy. But I remember the scene where he got the box with his book in it. And I said, wow, I mean, that's got to be an amazing feeling, So yeah, to answer your question, the first time it happened, man, I was like, I was blown away. I said, I can't believe I wrote a book, man. And some other people would say the same thing to me, like, Skip, you wrote a book, and sometimes I had to hear from somebody else to put it into perspective for me,
right?
Like, and every now and then, I'll catch myself because in my office I have a whole bunch of books here lined up, and right in the middle, of course, are my 3 books. And what I do sometimes, Mark, and I'll be honest with you, transparency right now, I'll look at all these books, and maybe it's about 15 of them, Michelle Obama's book and Kamala Harris's book, big time books, right? And mine are right in the middle. And I'm saying, damn, they're not bestsellers, but it's a book, and just like the rest of them. And it's just an amazing feeling. I'll sit here in my chair and just gaze at all these books, and then I'll look at mine in the middle and say, there it is. It's yeah.
You're absolutely right, because it is incredible. I have 2, because over the years we used to call them albums, and I guess we still do. But I have 2 CDs or albums that were released. One was in 2011 and one was 2013, and I asked that question because I know what I felt like whenever I got the box of CDs. And it was a surreal feeling. And there are times whenever I'll play my music now, and I don't even, like I said, if I had to recreate that, I probably couldn't, because it really felt like I'm listening to myself saying, did I really play that? But that was God playing through me. Same thing with your books. Whenever that was God writing through me. But this is the thing about a book. a book, once you get it published, and especially a hard copy, like you have your hard copies, they are here forever.
Every year.
Because a copy of that book is going to be somewhere. You're going to be gone. Me and you will be dead and gone, and a copy of that book is still going to be floating around somewhere.
Amen. Yep. Yeah, I thought about it too. But let me share a funny story with you, real quick, because you were talking about the CDs. I wrote a song for my Mother's Love,
right,
shortly after she passed away. I decided after years to get it recorded, so I went to the studio, got it recorded, and I found this place that I printed out the CD, so I had about 50 of them. I went, and my sister here again did the artwork for the cover. It was just amazing. And I picked up these CDs, true story, had them in the front seat of the car, and I kept gazing down. I said, I can't believe, man, I got this CD and the song about my mother. I kept gazing down. It was coming down some highway and off-ramp. So on the off-ramp, you're going real slow. I must have been gazing down again and ran straight into the truck in front of me, tore up my wife's car. It's one of them accidents in slow motion where I could see the front of her car just crunching up. I said, shit. I'm sorry. And I said, how could I, on an off turn, because I'm down to like 4, 5, 10 miles an hour, and I ran straight and the truck was so big, did no damage to the truck, but tore up my wife's car. And I said, how could you not see that big truck? Because I was still gazing down at the CDs, man. I couldn't believe I had this CD, man. And so that last gaze got me in trouble, man. So, yeah.
It is. I mean, it's almost. I mean, it's equivalent to a degree. And I'm using the comparison because nothing is like a woman birthing a child. Yeah. However, whenever you work on a project, work on a project, it does feel like you have given birth to something, whether it's a book or there's a musical project, whether there's acting, whether it's whatever, you've given birth to it. And as I said, that book is going to be in somebody's attic, somebody's, trunk, somebody's basement, somebody's library, somebody's books. This book will be gone. And that's the one thing I love about books, is that because somebody's going to discover that of whatever year you wrote that in, and they're going to now learn about these people.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, many of the people in the book might be dead and gone, but that book is still going to be here, even though we're not here physically anymore. The book is going to be here. So that's the great thing. Somebody's going to be seeing Skip Van Rensselaer or Dale Van Rensselaer or whatever for the rest of the days. And that's, as I share with authors, that's one of the things I say, have you ever thought about that? That once we're gone, that book is going to be, there are books floating around here now that were written, in the early 1900s or 1800s or whenever. They're still here.
Yep. As a matter of fact, one of the analogies I used to use for myself, I ran, I used to run all the time back in the day, and I ran the marathon a couple of times, New York Marathon. And as I was saying earlier before about the books I have lined up here, and a lot of these are bestsellers and everything, but my book is right there. When I completed the marathon, I certainly was nowhere near the front. Took me a lot longer than the world-class runners, but the sense I had that particular day was a sense of accomplishment. I finished the marathon, man. So same thing with the book, man. I finished the book, and so when it came in that box, man, and I just, even now, sometimes I order some extra books every now and then when I have a book signing, and when it comes in the mail, it's not the same sensation as the initial delivery, but I still I'm an author, man, and even people refer to me as an author now. Sometimes I get a little embarrassed about that. I'll be truthful with you, Mark. People say, Skip, he's social, he's an author. And I want to say, I'm not an author. And I say, yes, you are. I hear a little voice in my head saying, stop.
I cannot tell you.
Not an author, man.
I cannot tell you over the 25 years of guests that are authors who I've interviewed that will say, I'm not an author. I'm like, you have a book. You are an author.
Yeah, you're an author. Yeah, because when you say you're an author, then you think of some of these people who are best-selling authors and New York Times best-selling authors. And I'm an author just like that. I'm not, I'm not getting $1 million checks.
That's it. Yes. But all right, to that point, many authors don't necessarily, you don't get to, you like a Stephen King or some of these other folk that get there. It's cutthroat as well. Because most of the authors that I've dealt with, write for the love of writing and they want their story out. And if they get the $1 million, great. But that wasn't the objective to begin with.
Yeah. And
that's kind of like the same way, even whenever I did the 2 CDs, it's like, well, I know this is not going to make $1 million for me, but at least I got my music out there. Exactly. So yes, but it's still, okay, percentage wise, you're still talking a very low number percentage wise of people in the population who have written a book. Now, as many authors as we have out there, if you do that against the entire population, the percentage is still small. So you are in that small percentage of people who have authored a book.
Yeah, exactly. You put it that way. Yeah, there's so many different perspectives with regards to having completed a book, and you just gave me another one that I can't deny, even if I wanted to deny it. I've written a book, and it's right there in front of your face, and it looks just as good as the other books. If truth be told, nice cover and everything.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, listen. If somebody came in my room and and looked at all these books I have here, and like I said, and didn't know these other people like Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris, and I got Barack's book here, they would say, "Wow." And I said, "Pick out the prettiest book." Mark, they might go to mine.
They might.
I like this cover, man. Got the.
I tell you what, since you gave me the copy of the first one, it's been in my display case at the school ever since.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's nice.
That has been now, whenever we pack up everything, I'll, but since you gave it for the last couple of years or so, that has been in my display case.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to get that second one to you as soon as I can.
All right.
All right. But that's it. I appreciate 3 times. I don't know if there's anybody else on there more than twice, but I really appreciate, Mark, you having me on your show. It's an honor and a privilege, and I appreciate it. It makes me believe I'm an author.
What? Well, you are, and I'm just feeling is the same. And you fraternity, by all means, would have you on here. Success, like I said, I've known you since I was a teenager, since I was a kid for the most part, so there would be no reason for you not to be on here. And we have come down to that, like I told you, that chance, the 5 minutes or so before we end the interview, that you can promote. I heard you say something about a book signing. I know you got the concert coming up, so whatever you'd like to promote, anything short of $1 amount, I'm turning the mic off, and you can shout out and promote all you want.
Tell me when.
You can go now.
Okay. Well, the book signing is actually not mine, but it's a friend of mine. She's actually profiled in my second volume, Francesca Nunez, who's having a book signing at 1 o'clock today on Van Houten Street. I can't remember the name of the place, Van Houten near Washington. Also, we do this interfaith concert, my church, my mass choir, with a Jewish temple on Preakness Avenue, and we're doing a concert tomorrow. Starts at 7. It's free, so please come out. And they have an excellent a cappella choir, and this is our 3rd year doing it. So I think you'll enjoy it.
All right. Now, how do folks, if they want to get a copy of the book, where can they get a copy of the book?
Easiest way, I guess, is Amazon.com. You go on Amazon and just type in either the title, Up Close and Paterson, or Page Publishing Company, and the book will pop up. You'll see my picture there, and in Google Play and iTunes. I don't know how to get to there, but it's definitely on Amazon. You go on Amazon. I don't know, a lot of people use Amazon. So, are we off the air?
No, we're still on. So that's what I'm saying. In terms of, this is your opportunity to let folks know how to get in touch with you, websites, phone numbers, email, whatever they need to do if they want to get a copy of the book or want to talk to you or have you come talk out.
Yeah, they can they go on Amazon or Big Dallas Cowboys fan. So cowboyskip at AOL.com is my that's my address. You can contact me through my Cowboy Skip address. I don't want to put my phone number out there, but
no, unless it's a business phone number, unless it's a business line, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, no. But yeah, a lot of people in Paterson, if Paterson's listening, they know me. Just
right.
Always keep a lot of copies here at the house, so I'll be glad to get a copy to you. Just give me a holler.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I know you appreciate being on the show, but I appreciate you rising early to join me because it's a Saturday morning at 7 o'clock. So I thank you for rising early. I do record them. You will get a copy of an MP3 link and a YouTube channel, or YouTube video. And at that point, you can send them out wherever and whoever you'd like.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
All right. Same here. All right, man. 06.
06, brother. Take care of yourself.
You do the same.
God bless.
God bless you as well.